Vadis chapter 47. The apostle words put confidence in the souls of the Christians. The end of the world seemed ever near to them, but they began to think that the day of judgment will not come immediately, that first they will see the end of Nero's reign, which they look on as the reign of Satan, and the punishment of God for Caesar's crimes, which were cry for vengeance. Strengthened in heart, they dispersed after the prayer to their temporary doings, and even to the Transtiber for news that had come, that the fire set there in number of places, how with the change of wind turned back toward the river, and after devouring it could be here and there, had ceased to extend. The apostle with Vinicius and Chilo, who followed him, left the excavation also. The young tribune did not venture to interrupt his prayers, hence he walked on in silence, merely imploring pity with his eyes and trembling from alarm. Many approached to kiss Peter's hands and the hem of his mantle. Mothers held out their children to him. Some knelt in the dark, long passage, and holding up tapers, begged blessing. Others holding a long sign. So there was no chance for a question or an answer, but it was in the narrow passage. Only when they came out to broader spaces, from which the burning city was in view, did the apostle bless them 3 times and say, turning to Vinicius, "Fear not, the hut of the quarryman is near, and in it we shall find Linus and Lygia, with her faithful servant. Christ, who predestined her to thee, has preserved her." Vinicius tottered, and placed his hand against the cliff. The road from Antium, the events at the wall, the search for Lygia amidst burning houses, sleeplessness, and his terrible alarm had exhausted him, and the news that the dearest person in the world was near by, and that soon he would see her, took the remnant of his strength from him. So great a weakness passed him on a sudden that he dropped to the apostle's feet, and embracing his knees remained thus without power to say a word. "No to me, not to me, but to Christ," said the apostle, who guarded thanks and honor. "What a good God!" said the voice of Chilo from behind. "But what shall I do with the muscles that are waiting down here?" "Rise and come with me," said Peter to the young man. Vinicius rose, but the light of the burning tears were visible on his face, which was pale from emotion. His lips moved, as if in prayer. "Let us go," said he. But Chilo repeated again, "Lord, what shall I do with the mules that are waiting? Perhaps this worthy prophet prefers riding to walking." Vinicius did not know himself what to answer, but hearing from Peter that the quarryman's hut was nearby, he said, "Take the mules to Macrinus." "Pardon me, Lord, if I mention the house of Ameriola. In view of such an awful fire, it is easy to forget a thing so paltry. Thou wilt get it. O grandson of Numa Popilius, I have always been sure, but now, when this magnanimous prophet also has heard the promise, he will not remind thee even of this, that thou hast promised me a vineyard. Pax vobiscum, I shall find thee, Lord, pax vobiscum." They answered, "And peace be with thee." Then both turned to the right toward the hills along the road. Vinicius said, "Lord, wash me with the water of baptism, so that I might call myself a real confessor of Christ, for I love him with all the power of my soul. Wash me quickly, for I am ready in heart, and what thou commandest I will do. But tell me, so that I might do it in addition." "Love men as thy own brothers," answered the apostle, "for only with love mayst thou serve him." "Yes, I understand and feel that. When a child I believed in the Roman gods, though I did not love them. But I so love him, the one God, that I will give my life for him gladly." And he looked toward the sky, repeating with exultation, "For he is one, for he alone is kind and merciful. Hence, Let not only his city perish, but the whole world. Him alone will I confess and recognize. And he will bless thee and thy house, concluded the apostle. Meanwhile there turned into another ravine, at the end of which a faint light was visible. Peter pointed to it and said, "There is a hut in the quarryman who gave us a refuge then. On the way from Ostrianum with the sick Linus, we could go to the Transtiber. We could not go to the Transtiber." After a while they arrived. The hut was rather a cave rounded out in an indentation of the hill, and was faced outside with a wall made of reeds. The door was closed, but through an opening which served for a window the interior was visible, lighted by fire. Some dark giant rose up to meet them, and inquired, "Who are thee? Who are ye?" "Servants of Christ," answered Peter. "Peace be with thee, Ursus." Ursus bent to the apostle's feet, then recognized Vinicius as his hand by the wrist, and raised it to his lips. "O thou Lord," said he, "blessed be thy name of the Lamb for thy joy which thou wilt bring to Calina." He opened the door then and entered. Linus was lying on a bottle of straw with an emaciated face and a forehead as yellow as ivory. Near the fire sat Ligia with a string of small fish, intended evidently for supper. Occupied in removing the fish from the string, and thinking that it was Ursus who had entered, she did not raise her eyes, but Vinicius approached, and pronouncing her name, stretched his hand to her. She sprang up quickly then. A flash of astonishment and delight shot across her face. Without a word, like a child who after days of fear and sorrow hath found a father or mother, she threw herself into his open arms. He embraced her, pressed her into his bosom for some time with such ecstasy as if she had been saved by a miracle. Then, withdrawing his arms, he took her temples between his hands, kissed her forehead and her eyes, embraced her again, repeated her name, bent to her knees, to her palms, greeted her, did her homage, honored her. His delight had no bounds, neither has his love and happiness. At last he told her how he had rushed in from Antium, had searched for her at the walls, in the smoke, in the house of Linus, how he had suffered and was terrified, how much he had endured before the apostle had shown him her retreat. "But now," said he, "I have found thee. I will not leave thee near fire and raging crowds. People are slaying one another on the walls, slaves are revolting and plundering. God alone knows that miseries may fall yet on Rome, but I will save thee and all of you. Oh, my dear, let us go to Andium. We will take a ship there and sail to Sicily. My land is thy land, my houses are thy houses. Listen to me. In Sicily we shall find Aulus, and will give thee back to Pomponia, and take thee from her hands afterwards. But, O Carissima, I have no further fear of me. Christ has not washed me yet, but ask Peter if on the way hither I have not told him my wish to be real confessor of Christ, and begged him to baptize me, even in this hut of quarrymen. Believe, and let all believe me." Livia heard these words with radiant face. The Christians formerly, because of Jewish persecutions, and then because of the fire and disturbance caused by the disaster, lived in fear and uncertainty. A journey so quiet, Sicily will put an end to all danger, and open a new epoch of happiness in their lives. If Vinicius had wished to take only Lygia, she would have resisted the temptation surely, as she did not wish to leave Peter and Linus. But Vinicius said to them, "Come with me, my lands are your lands, my houses your houses." As this, Lygia inclined to kiss his hand in sign of obedience, and said, "Where thou art, Caius, there am I, Caia. There am I, Caia." Then, confused as that she had spoken words which Roman customs were repeated only at marriage, she blushed deeply and stood in the light of fire with drooping head, in doubt lest he might take them ill of her. But in his face boundless homage alone was depicted. He turned then to Peter and continued, Rome is burned at a command of Caesar. In Antium he complained that he had never seen a great fire. And if he has not hesitated at such a crime, think what might happen yet. Who knows that he may not bring in troops and command a slaughter? Who knows that proscriptions may come? Who knows whether after the fire civil war, murder, and famine might not come? Hide yourself, therefore, and let us hide Lycia. There ye can wait till the storm passes, and when it is over, return to sow your grain anew. Outside, from the direction of the Vatican field, as if to confirm his fears, distant cries were heard, full of rage and terror. The moment the quarryman entered, the master of the hut, and, shutting the door hastily, he cried, "People are killing one another near the circus of Nero. Slaves and gladiators have attacked the citizens." "Do ye hear?" said Vinicius. "A measure is full," said the apostle, "and disasters will come like a boundless sea." Then he turned and pointed to Lygia and said, "Take the maiden whom God had predestined to thee, and save her, and let Linus, who is sick, and Ursus go with you." But Vinicius, who had come to love the apostle with all the power of his impetuous soul, exclaimed, "I swear, my teacher, I will not leave thee here to destruction." "The Lord bless thee for thy wish," answered Peter. "But hast thou not heard that Christ repeated thrice on the lake to me, Feed my lambs"? Vinicius was silent. "If thou, to whom no one has confided care over me, sayest that thou wilt not leave me to destruction, how canst thou wish me to leave my flock in the day of disaster?" When there was a storm on the lake, and we were terrified in heart, he did not desert us. Why should I, a servant, not follow my master's example? Then Linus raised his emaciated face and inquired, "O vice-regent of the Lord, why should I not follow thy example?" Vinicius began to pass his hands over his head, as if struggling with himself or fighting with his thoughts. Then, seizing Lygia by the hand, he said, in a voice in which energy of a Roman soldier was quivering, "Hear me, Peter, Lycens, and thou, Lygia. I spoke as a human reason dictated, but ye have another reason which regards not your own danger, but the commands of the Redeemer. True, I do not understand this, and I erred, for the beams is not taken from my eyes yet, and the form of nature is hard in me. But since I love Christ and wish to be his servant, though it is a question of me, of something more than my own life, I kneel before thee, and I swear I will accomplish the command of love, and I will not leave my brethren in the day of trouble." Then he knelt, and enthusiasm possessed him. Raising his hands and eyes, he cried, "Do I understand thee, O Christ? Am I worthy of thee?" His hands trembled, his eyes glistened with tears, his body trembled with faith and love. Peter took an earthen vessel with water, and bringing it near him, said with solemnity, "Behold, I baptize thee in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen." Then a religious ecstasy seized all present. They thought that some light from beyond this world was filled with the heart, and they heard some superhuman music, that the cliffs had opened above their heads. The choirs of angels were floating down from heaven, and far up there they saw a cross, their pierced hands blazing them. Meanwhile the shouts of fighting were heard outside, and the roar of flames in the burning city.